It's really, I feel a bit all over the place. Like I'm much comfier in, not comfier, but feel nicer in summer clothes. I don't
I quite like both actually. Yeah, I don't
You've
mind.
got nice winter clothes. I do feel very frumpy and very middle-aged in the winter, whereas I don't in the summer. In the summer with skirt.
I haven't started this. It's quite good though. Hold on a minute, let me start it. So we're on the pause menopause. I actually can't remember what episode.
Oh no,
I think that's 11.
That sums it up. We've paused too long for the
11 or 12. It's around that. Look at the title and then you'll find out, because I actually really can't remember what episode.
No, but I think that's very fitting considering it's about the menopause and our memory is
pants.
I don't have a clue.
Exactly.
I've never had a clue.
You know, but we were just talking. It's quite funny. Firstly, Jill turned up at my house and said, I think my clothes are reflecting my mood.
Well, because I am all over the place, right? So I have got, you can't see probably. Oh, well,
they can't the podcast
anyway. If you're watching it, I've got florally hippie sort of trousers. That's me trying to connect with my bohemian creative side,
let's go through it.
That's what that is.
Okay.
Then the socks are a little bit of pink leopard skin with gold glitter.
They are.
I think that's me trying to be a bit like there's life in the old dog yet.
Okay, carry on. So the purple. What is the
purple? I love the article. I love purple. It's my color that I put on, and because my face, I think in the winter it gets a bit. As I was just saying, I feel it nicer in the summer when my skin starts to get all wintry. I'm like, so purple. I think it's a flattering color.
It's a flattering color for you. Have you ever done your colors? Just as a side. There's a thing like that, isn't it?
They probably tell me that purple is
not for you.
I like purple, not too dark purple, or else that's hard. This is kind of nice. Again, I'm really trying to embrace with all of this feminine nicey because I got it's just I'm trying to get into creative mode at the moment.
And what is
the
cardi?
The cardi is wrong. So I've gone from trying to embrace my sort of life in the old dog to cardi is comfort. Oh, I need a wee comfort granny.
Yeah, we've actually got the fire on next to us.
So this is my wee bit of granny that I'm I'm just kind of
I love it.
Really, I think I should be wearing cardi from head to toe.
Purple is in yoga terms, because for you, if you don't know, I'm a yoga teacher. I'm big into yoga. So
what's
purple are the higher chakras. So you're talking the third eye. You're talking
that's my favorite
chakra at the top. Yeah, this is sort of the vision center, the truth center. Ooh. And then you've got the sort of Sahasrara chakra is the top chakras. This is like the 1,000-petaled lotus chakra, where you just know, you understand what's going on. So it's quite and also purple is used a lot in churches. In the Church of England, it's a very ecclesiastic color. Yeah, it's a very, very potent powerful color. I suppose I should do mine. So what's mine then?
You're always quite earthy.
Am I earthy?
Well, you're earthy at the moment. In the summer, you're not so earthy. You wear a lot more.
I used to wear really short shorts and things like that, but I can't do that anymore because of the skin. So I tend to wear these flowy trousers. So these are actually some from my sort of slight end of summer, autumn kind of thing. So I've got trousers on, floaty trousers on that I really like because they're so comfortable. And they're in kind of blacks and patterns and creams and stuff.
They've got a nice print, nice bohemian.
They have got a nice print. I love this belt that goes with pretty much, and this is my ex's belt. This is Steph's belt. It's one of the few things that I kept of him.
It's got a nice buckle.
But yeah, he really liked this belt, so I've kept this belt. And I've got a whole collection of like jewelry things. I've got sacred stones and mala beads, and my friend gave me this one for you'd like this because it's purple bracelet for my birthday, and it's got this lovely I can't remember what it's called now. It's a Chinese animal figure, and it's for abundance. So I'm putting it on at the moment to attract abundance. So anyway,
but I was having a conversation with a lady that I'm coaching the other day, and I believe, I'm a great believer in, if you sort of dress as the person that you want to be, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So if I want to be creative, the easiest way for me to do that is to put on a pair of like my hippie bohemian dangly earrings.
Floaty earrings.
And I
yeah.
immediately feel woo,
Yeah.
happy spirited, and you'd like
Yeah.
for me,
Mm.
not all the time, but connecting with creativity and that kind of stuff through clothes.
Well, that makes sense because I used to be a sales manager. So I used to be in IT sales many moons ago. And my boss allowed us to work at home. It was quite new at the time. So this is like 25, 27 years ago.
Which wasn't the done thing.
It wasn't the done thing, no. And he used to let us work from home. It was just at the cusp of everyone starting to have some internet access and things like that, but it was really early days. But we did. He allowed us to work at home and have our, emails and blah blah blah. But he said, but when you work at home, don't sit in jogging bottoms.
Oh, yes.
And a smeggy t-shirt. Get dressed as if you're going into the office, or at least something smarter than pajamas, etc. Now we didn't do Zoom things at the time. I think there was a little bit of Skype, maybe. I don't think we used it much. But so no one was seeing us necessarily. But when we had to phone clients and we got on the telephone, it would make a difference to our voice.
I bet it would.
If we were in situ, as it were. So I think it makes a big difference. And this brings us on, because we did have a discussion before the podcast.
We did.
About what we were going to talk about.
And it was nothing to do with what we're speaking about now.
It wasn't, and somehow it kind of is. And I'm going to bring it round very professionally to the subject matter. We've been watching, and we will advise you to go and watch it, but we've been watching or listening to, because I think you can listen to it as a podcast as well. I put the YouTube channel on, actually, because I quite like the visual as well. But we've been watching Davina McCall do her new podcast.
It is really
good. There's only
2 episodes so far.
So
both
far.
have been brilliant.
Big ones, really good. So the first one she did was with Fern Cotton, who, if you're not British, you won't really know who she is. But she was a TV presenter from a very, very young age. She was
16 or 14, was it? It was
14, I think.
On kids TV.
Kids TV, and then went on to more TV and radio and all sorts.
Very cool in the 90s.
Really cool and hip chicks. There were several, weren't there? There was Fern Cotton, there was a whole little girls gang of them.
Yeah.
And Davina was always a little bit out of it, in the sense that she kind of did her own thing and traced her own path, and didn't get early days into the mesh of what Fern talked about in this podcast. And the second one, which we'll perhaps tackle more in the next podcast that we talk about,
because they're two different.
It's really, really interesting. They're two different, because they're not all about the menopause podcast. I think that's the important thing to say. And the first one wasn't. It was about mental health, because now Fern Cotton does a podcast on mental health. And I think that was the big thing that I took away from it, was the ways that she has coped with her mental health issues over the years. And one of the big things that came out of it was feeling inadequate, feeling that you were not
good enough
and not good enough. And she was made to feel that as well. Somebody actually said to her, she was a young woman.
That was shocking, wasn't it?
It was shocking. She was on a
bungee jump thing.
Bungee jump. They were filming a bungee jump thing. And one of her colleagues, not the presenter that she was doing.
No, it was a reporter. It was a reporter made a comment afterwards.
He actually said, "I wish the rope had snapped.
Yeah.
And you hadn't made it out of there."
And that at that time made her feel she at that point in her career and I guess age, she wasn't able to go, well, the problem there is obviously with said reporter.
Yeah.
She felt about herself, how bad must I be?
Yeah.
That people think for someone to think such a horrific, horrid thing about me, I must be pretty bad.
Yeah. And it haunted her, didn't it? And it kept coming back. And then a few years later, they kind of dropped her like a bit of a lead balloon from the TV screens, didn't they? Because, I mean, it's a vicious, I've been on the telly. I've actually done a year and a half, and I was the yoga coach on a morning TV, like a big morning program. And it wasn't that they didn't drop me. I was actually impressed that they didn't drop me, because she's quite vicious, the TV presenter who was doing the program. But I must have been doing something right. But the program stopped. The program ended.
Oh, is that okay? So
and that's why I stopped being on the telly. Otherwise, I'd have carried on being on the telly. I think. But then, you don't know. And you do get dropped. And this makes me think, and it's along the same lines, am I good enough? Am I doing the right thing? Blah, blah, blah. There was a really lovely lady called Marie-Pierre Planchon who works for France Inter. So this is a French radio station. And I did an interview with her many years ago on the radio. And she had a whole program to herself. And it was very much, she'd invite people in and she'd talk about their life path. And it was an hour program. So I did this whole interview on France Inter with her. Really good. A couple of years later, suddenly she became the weather person.
Really?
Yes.
Oof, why?
I think middle age.
Just wasn't.
I think she wasn't
fit anymore.
And they started to record sessions visually.
Ouch.
I know. And they obviously wanted to take her slot for somebody else who was probably more visually appealing. And I felt really bad for her. And but they kept her on in the radio thing, but she's now this weather person, right?
Oh God.
She's still in touch with me, bless her. She sends me messages on Instagram and things like that. But I found that really harsh.
And it must be hard to be on the receiving end.
Awful.
I was thinking, because when we said we were going to speak about this today, it made me think, I said to you before I came on here, pretty much more, I'd say 90% of the women that I coach, it comes at some point, it comes out that they do not feel enough. They don't feel good enough. You know, I was going to say most, I think every single one of them would be a middle-aged woman. It's obviously a
I think it's a completely recurring thing. In my teacher trainings, I get people to sit in even retreats often, but particularly in the teacher trainings, I get people to, at the beginning of the retreat or the beginning of the training, to present themselves, say why they're there, blah, blah, blah. And more often than not, they say, well, because I don't really feel legitimate enough.
Yeah, that's
legitimate.
Yeah,
I don't feel legitimate.
Imposter syndrome.
Whoa! Right. And so that goes hand in hand with I'm not good enough. And often the reaction that people have, and I know I'm guilty of it, is if I do more, if I am more, or if I be more of that because it's popular, because that's what's liked, blah blah blah, it'll all be okay.
Yeah.
But then you're not being you. Yeah. And then you're pushing and pushing. Why is you not enough?
Yeah.
Why the fuck is you not enough?
I know so many brilliant women who have already got all of the qualifications they could possibly need.
Yeah.
And yet they're still, I mean, granted, there's a whole love of learning piece as well, but they're still all the time on another course and another course and another course. And it's not all just because they want to learn new stuff. No. A big part of it is that credibility piece, and inside, even although they're brilliant, even they feel I'm not quite enough.
And do you think that gets worse though when you get to the middle age and then the perimenopause? Because I do.
I was wondering, I mean, why in women, and especially in middle-aged women, does it seem to be? And I do think so. I was thinking that I think it's a trait that's probably always in us women anyway, to a certain degree, isn't it? Because even I remember, this is bringing me back, making me think of when I used to work for a ski school.
Yeah.
And even younger women, when they would come up to the front desk.
I also worked for very.
Yes, you did, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
But when you would ask a woman to determine her ski level, they would always play it down. They would always say that they were like low intermediate when they were actually quite good.
Yeah.
The men, and this is a huge generalization, would do the opposite.
Yeah.
They would come and go, I'm advanced.
Yes.
And then you'd see them out there and they weren't. So I think part of it, there is a part that is probably in us anyway.
Yeah.
But then when you get to middle age, for many of us, I'm not quite there yet, but a lot of the ladies I know are, the kids are up. Yeah. The career, maybe things have changed. You don't have the energy or the motivation to put into it, into work in the same or your career as you used to. Feel like you can't keep up with the younger women who are at a different point in life and who want different things. But I do think that whole sense of purpose, a lot of the things that you put your purpose into for maybe that middle section of your life, changes, and then you think, well, what now? You know, for me to start anything new now, I hear over and over, I can't. I'm sort of past it because you can't do things like you know that you
never
used
give
to
up
be
on
able
your
to do.
dreams. Never give up on your dreams and stuff.
No.
Never, and never think you're too old to start something new.
No.
I think it's just ridiculous. You know, I think you can turn your hand to anything, but I'm just going to come back to what you were saying, because I don't know if you've seen this Instagram film. I don't think it's just Instagram actually, but there's this clip that I've seen recently, and I've seen it a couple of times, and they've got some youngish people, young adults, let's say, on the stage. They film them individually, but they ask them the same question. So they ask men and women, I'd say they're in their 20s, let's say. They say, how does a woman fight? How does a man fight?
Right.
Okay, so they'll go through the women first. Go, show me how a girl, let's not say woman, show me how a girl runs, right? Show me how a girl fights. Show me how a girl does this. So they're doing this thing. So they're asking these young adults to do it. So more often than not, and I'm going to have to describe it so that you can understand what I'm saying. The girl's running. So it's like the legs are
coming out
windmilling,
the side.
windmill legs, like on the side. How do girls fight? And it's like the flappy hands, and screechy.
Or it's like that expression, you throw like a girl.
Yes,
you know, like,
that was one of them. How do you throw? How do girls throw?
Throw like a girl.
You know, floppy.
I mean, I do throw like a girl.
I know men throw like
I'm not helping them, but you know,
Then they ask the same people, and how does a man run? And they kind of
run
like this,
purposeful.
Strong. How does a man throw? Really good.
Fight.
You know, how does he fight with the fists and blah blah blah. So then they do this. They go to young children who are 6 years old, let's say, roughly, and they ask the same question. The girls and the boys, when you say, "How does a girl run?" they run the same.
Oh yes,
as the boys.
So what does that show?
So they look at them as if to say, "Well, why are you asking me that question?" Because they run the same. So how do the girls fight? With the fists, you know. How do the boys fight? With the fists. So, and the catch line underneath is, at what point in society does a girl get seen as that person?
But then I guess you could argue that at age 6, a boy and a girl do run like a girl runs as fast as a boy.
At age 20, 30, 40, a boy and a girl run the same.
No, I don't agree.
Oh, I think they do. The speed might be different.
Physically, the way, but in terms of,
we don't windmill leg it.
In terms of,
we don't go like this.
Men are, not all men, but men are faster.
Yeah, I'm not talking speed. I'm talking style.
Yeah.
I'm not talking speed at all. Fighting. If you asked a woman to fight, you know, or a man to fight, I'd just punch or I'd freaking whack around the face. Oh, women. Come on. I've hit a man really hard once. In defense, I'm just going to put that out there, but because this in the middle of the night, someone came into my bedroom and started to nick my stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And I know. And I had one of those moments. This is true as well. And I had one of those moments where I was like, I'm going to have to put the light on and the monster is going to be in my bedroom.
Oh my
and goodness. I did, and I put the light on. And this, I'm not being racist here, but he was just a massive black guy was sitting on my bed.
Oh my God, that's scary.
Really scary. And so I got up and I screamed at him and was really like forceful and everything like that. And he eventually gave me back my camera that he'd nicked and blah, 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 put it on the table. And he was asking me to calm down. And I wasn't calming down. And I followed him to the door and almost pushed him out the door and I smacked him around the face, but really hard.
And so what was the...
And then I shut this is a true story. And then I shut the door, locked the door, and then I fell apart.
Yeah, no,
but I was really strong and with.
But that's quite reassuring that in that situation you fought.
I did.
That's
good. I
good.
fought. Yeah, I definitely did. I fought back and I wasn't scared. because I thought if
No.
I show him I'm scared, then I'm effed.
But you just went
basically.
into it. That
I went into a warrior mode.
Yeah.
But I just think it's
No,
interesting.
true. Yes, yes, yes.
And we were saying just before we started, we will talk about the other podcast because I can't remember the doctor's name, and I do want to get her name.
She's
because
brilliant. Yeah.
she was incredible. So Davina was interviewing the doctor. So I will find the name for our next podcast.
Listen
we'll talk
to
about It's called Begin Again, isn't it? Her podcast.
Yeah.
We're advertising her. You need to listen to her to see her. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Begin Again. But one of the points that she made, and she says it several times, this doctor does, we're not little men, but we're made in society to act like little men.
Yeah.
But we're not. We're women. And we have different biological functions. And the menopause hits us on a head to toe level. And I found that really, really interesting. She also mentioned that Black and Asian women get their menopause years earlier than white women. And they were both saying, I bet many Black and Asian women don't know about that.
No,
and it's not spoken about in their culture. You know?
But it's funny, isn't it? Well, not funny, haha, but funny, interesting in that as you're speaking, it's making me think that the little men thing.
Yeah.
Maybe in the younger years, we are perceived as the weaker sex because physically, maybe we're not as strong or not as fast, or maybe that's where it comes from. But from what I see this is a huge generalization, but
go for it. We love a bit of generalization.
Middle-age point onwards. Women seem to, like that whole Begin Again thing, women seem to come into their own. I know so many more women that are still up for the challenge and the adventure and that are off doing stuff. Whereas I think there is that element for men too, that they've kind of, they're,
I reposted this morning actually on my Instagram. I think she's called Dr. Penny. She's amazing, American, but she was commenting on the fact that very often women hit their 60s and society just thinks that's it, on the scrap heap. They've got no worth, blah, blah, blah. And she said, au contraire, this is your shining time. This is the time that you are the wisdom keepers of the planet.
Sure.
You're the ones that are out there doing all the colorful, incredible stuff because you're doing it with empathy. And that is your magic power as you get into your 60s. Now, I'm not in my 60s. I've got another 6 years to go. I've just had a birthday, so I'm 54, approaching my 60s. Not there yet. But she was talking about very much the 60s. But I think as you get into the perimenopause and the menopause phase, there is also that feeling of there's a lot of endings. You can't have children anymore.
Yeah.
There's all
Which is hard to deal with, and things do change, and things don't work the same way as they used to.
When something ends, something begins.
But exactly.
And I just thought that was so nice to hear this woman going, in your 60s, this is your magic power time.
And the shift for me has started to happen when I've let go of the trying to hold, because things do change, and there are things I can't do in the same way, and there's things I don't want to do in the same way. When I let go of that, and embrace all that I actually can do, that's when it becomes lovely. It's
a huge transition, and I think this was one of the other points that Fern was talking about in terms of mental health and how she copes with it, that the doctor was talking about in terms of the menopause. There are huge shifts and transitions in our lifetime as women, but the menopause is the biggest one in many ways because
it's massive.
It's huge, and it is a head-to-toe concept. I had this long conversation with David this week about this with my partner, and I was saying, we were talking about evolution in a couple and changing, etc. And I said, I have changed after the menopause. I know I've changed. Some of the changes I'm not keen on. I don't like. And I'm working on them. And one of them,
ones that you have control over.
Yeah. I mean, and with hindsight I can see it more now and I can feel it more now. There's a couple I've become a bit harder.
All right.
A bit harder in some things, a bit sort of quicker tempered and harder. And I'm working on that because that's not me as a natural essence. I'm actually not quick-tempered, and I'm not a hard person, but I have been hard in my life, and I've had to at certain times be hard in my life, believe me. But I don't need to be hard now.
No.
But since the menopause, I found that I have got a little harder.
Right.
And I don't like that bit about myself. So that's part that I'm working on changing.
Right, okay.
But there's actually a lot of it I'm really, really happy.
Yeah, me too.
One of them is I do feel that I'm legitimate and I do feel that I'm enough. And I've got a massive I don't give a fuck attitude, which is really healthy. I think it's really healthy. You know, my girls aren't there yet because they're young, right? But occasionally they go, Mom, you can't do that. I said, I can. I will
like
probably never come into this place again anyway. And B, I don't give a fuck. I actually don't give a fuck.
I do like that. Yeah.
Do you know
I'm
what I mean?
getting there. There's still areas where I do. There's still areas where I do. But I can see it. I can see it. But no, I love it when I see women middle-aged and above, exactly that. Just
loving it.
But being who they're meant to
I
be.
am going to come back to the clothing thing because it's made me think of something I saw earlier this week. But I do just want to bring back. I want to be so vulnerable, I suppose, for a minute. But last night in the stables, I actually I'd shed a bit of a tear. I was really tired, I think, emotionally. But I quite often feel inadequate in the stables.
Do you? Why?
And I shouldn't, but I do because I just feel like I'm the one that never does everything like you're supposed to do in the stables.
Oh,
and I get a bit picked on.
Really?
But yeah, I feel that now. Maybe that's my perception of things. But every single time I take an initiative or I'm doing something or I think I've done everything okay, I get some form of criticism from the owner of the stables or from somebody will make a comment.
Yeah.
So last night I actually fought back a bit, but I did cry at the same time. And I just went, bloody hell, you know, and this is in French. I said, honestly, it's always me. There's always one thing that I don't do right. And it becomes a massive mountain. Jesus Christ, I think I'm coping bloody well with the whole situation.
Yeah.
And then she realized she pissed me off and she quite likes me. So she came and she went, everyone else has been through it, Charlotte. Honestly, it's not serious. It's fine. I'm just coming out and commenting on it. It's for the horse's safety, for your safety. It's all of that. But, you know, she'll never apologize. She doesn't apologize.
But at least you said your piece.
I said my piece. And I came home and told David, I was like, there's and everything. And he said, it's an all-women environment. Stables.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that it's always healthy to be just all women.
No.
Plus the fact there's a lot of little men women in the stables as well. Because I talked to him about the little men's now.
But it's
oh yeah, it was.
We can be.
But I felt not enough.
Yeah.
And it's not a nice feeling.
And isn't it sad that quite often it is other women and or ourselves in relation to other, in quite often because they're maybe feeling like that themselves. Our way as women, we can be catty and we can put other women down because we're not feeling very good about it.
But I tell you what I said to myself and also out loud. I said, Jesus Christ, I am doing really well. I am coping with a lot of stuff at the moment. And do you know what? I'm coping really well when you look at everything that I'm doing.
But I think that is a good point to sort of bring this, to sort of end on is like we all from what I hear, most of us women at some point or another feel not enough.
Yeah.
But what a difference it makes when you take a few minutes to focus on what you are doing right.
Yes.
And where you are enough. You know, we've spoken about before how I journal, but most nights at the moment, and especially when I'm having periods where I'm doubting myself or the self-worth is a bit low, I write every day in my journal. I'm like, but what's gone well today? And what part did you play in it? It hasn't just gone well by chance. It's because you made it go well.
That comes back to my, what have you done to do?
Feel good.
Miranda was on this morning this week, which was brilliant, and she made them all sing it at the end. The two presenters. What are we done to do?
She got a new show.
She's got a new book.
She
talks
love
about her mental health.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
I'm glad people are speaking about it.
Yeah, because she got Lyme's disease. The
Did she?
big thing actually is David's now really interested in it because he has very similar symptoms to what she has. So, and no one talks about Lyme's disease enough. But you get this sort of myofibrosia or something.
Yeah, where everything
aches and you're so tired and you don't understand why, etc. Anyway, that's
Maybe.
but she made them sing that at the end of the program. And
then David's got the menopause.
Oh, maybe
that's a male version.
but then she also made them climb on an imaginary horse and gallop off the studio.
Oh,
I love this.
oh, she is fabulous. She's another one that's up there.
She is great. Maybe we'll get invite Miranda on.
I wonder if she'll come.
That would be really. Don't know. Are we not? Maybe we're not big enough. We think we're big enough. We're enough for ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm going to finish on this.
Right. What close?
I can't remember what she's called now. I'm going to have to find her Instagram because she's amazing. This woman. She's like, I don't know, in her 90s or something. She's an American woman. She dresses incredibly. It's just so brilliant. Massive glasses.
You must have seen pictures that she puts on. She doesn't give a shit.
She doesn't give a shit.
Jewelry and the
colourful.
Yeah, I want to be like that.
She said about clothes, never wear dowdy clothes. Always wear the colours that inspire you. You know, this was what will make you creative.
Yeah, but I love that. I love that. Like, but when I embrace that side of me, like Matt looks at me and goes, "Oh, you're a weirdo." I'm like, you know what? I love being a weirdo.
Like the weirdo badge.
Yeah, I would want to be. Yeah, I'm going to wear the weirdo badge.
Wearing our weirdo badges.
Just join well, really, isn't it?
Thank you for listening. Jill, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, weirdo. Love you, weirdo. Bye.